Sister kept me in the dark about her engagement party, so I made sure to miss her big day and sent a message instead. My relationship with my sister Lauren has always been complicated, but what happened last month has completely shattered whatever fragile bond we had left. I'm still processing everything, and honestly, writing this out is helping me make sense of it all. Let me give you some background. Lauren is 3 years older than me, and growing up, we were never particularly close. She was always the golden child, straight A's, captain of the soccer team, homecoming queen, the whole package. I was the artsy one, the dreamer who spent more time sketching in notebooks than studying for tests. Our parents never openly played favorites, but you could feel it in the way Mom's eyes lit up when Lauren walked into a room, or how Dad would brag about her accomplishments to anyone who'd listen. When Lauren got engaged to her boyfriend Marcus 6 months ago, I was genuinely happy for her. Marcus seemed like a decent guy, even if he was a bit pretentious with his finance job and his obsession with craft beer. They'd been dating for 4 years, and honestly, I was surprised it took him that long to propose. Lauren had been dropping hints the size of billboards for at least 2 years. The proposal itself was over the top, exactly what Lauren wanted. Marcus rented out this fancy rooftop restaurant, hired a photographer, got a violinist, the works. Lauren called me right after it happened, squealing into the phone about the ring and how perfect everything was. I congratulated her, told her I couldn't wait to celebrate with her, and genuinely meant it despite our history. That's when things started getting weird. In the weeks following the engagement, Lauren became increasingly distant. Our weekly coffee dates that she'd insisted on maintaining suddenly had conflicts. Text messages went unanswered for days. When she did respond, it was always brief, almost cold. I figured she was just busy with wedding planning and let it slide. Then came my mother's birthday dinner about a month after the engagement. The whole family was there: Mom, Dad, Lauren, Marcus, our Aunt Patricia, and Uncle Mike. Everything seemed normal at first. We ate, we laughed, we sang happy birthday. But then I noticed something odd. Lauren and Mom kept exchanging these looks, these little conspiratorial glances that made my stomach turn. After dinner, I was helping clear the table when I overheard Lauren talking to our Aunt Patricia in the kitchen. I wasn't intentionally eavesdropping, but the kitchen door was open, and their voices carried. "Are you excited about the engagement party?" Patricia asked. "So excited," Lauren replied. "The venue is absolutely perfect, and the caterer we hired is supposed to be amazing. Marcus's parents are flying in from Seattle, and we've got about 70 people confirmed." My blood ran cold. Engagement party? This was the first I'd heard of it. I stood frozen in the dining room, arms full of dirty plates, trying to process what I'd just heard. Patricia continued, "When is it again? Next Saturday?" "Yes, next Saturday at 6. The invitations went out 3 weeks ago, so hopefully everyone has it on their calendars by now." 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks, and not a word to me. I carefully set the plates down and walked into the kitchen, trying to keep my voice steady. "Hey Lauren, can I talk to you for a second?" She turned, and I swear I saw a flash of guilt cross her face before she plastered on a smile. "Sure, what's up? Can we talk privately?" I gestured toward the back porch. Once we were outside, I didn't beat around the bush. "I just heard you talking about an engagement party. Next Saturday?" Lauren's smile faltered. "Oh. Yeah, we're having a little celebration." "A little celebration with 70 people? Lauren, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't I get an invitation?" She looked away, picking at her engagement ring. "It's complicated, Sarah." "Complicated? I'm your sister. How is inviting me to your engagement party complicated?" That's when she said it. The words that still echo in my head. "Marcus and I thought it would be better if we kept it more intimate. Just close friends and family." "I'm family," I said, my voice rising despite my efforts to stay calm. "I'm your only sister." Lauren sighed, clearly uncomfortable. "Look, Sarah, I know this is hard to hear, but Marcus's family is really important to him, and they're kind of traditional. They have certain expectations about who should be at these events." I stared at her, trying to understand. "What does that have to do with me?" She wouldn't meet my eyes. "They know about your lifestyle, and they're not exactly progressive. Marcus's dad is a pastor, and his family is very conservative. We just thought it would be easier if I wasn't there." I finished for her, the pieces clicking into place. "Lauren, are you seriously telling me that you're excluding me from your engagement party because Marcus's family doesn't approve of me being gay?" The silence that followed was deafening. Lauren's face flushed red, and she stammered, "It's not like that, Sarah. It's just for one night. The wedding will be different. You'll definitely be at the wedding. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. My own sister was choosing her fiancé's homophobic family over me. Does Mom know about this? Another pause. Another guilty look. She understands the situation. Mom knows? Mom knows you're excluding me, and she's okay with it? She knows it's just temporary, just to keep the peace with Marcus's family. Once we're married, it won't matter as much. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My mother, who'd always claimed to be supportive when I came out 5 years ago, was complicit in this. They'd all decided together that I wasn't worth the potential discomfort of Marcus's bigoted family. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I simply said, okay, and walked back inside. I grabbed my coat, told everyone I wasn't feeling well, and left. My phone started ringing before I even made it to my car. Lauren. I declined the call. Then Mom. Declined. I drove home in a fog, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. The calls and texts continued for the next few days. Lauren apologizing but not really apologizing, saying things like I hope you understand and this is just easier for everyone. Mom trying to mediate, asking me to be the bigger person and not make this harder than it needs to be. Dad, surprisingly, didn't reach out at all, which told me everything I needed to know about where he stood. I didn't respond to any of them. I needed time to think, to process this betrayal. My girlfriend Amanda was furious when I told her what happened. She wanted to confront Lauren herself, but I asked her not to. This was something I needed to handle on my own. As the engagement party date approached, I started getting texts from extended family members who'd apparently been told I was busy that night. Cousins asking why I couldn't make it, my grandmother confused about why I wasn't going to celebrate my sister's engagement. It became clear that Lauren had told people I was invited but couldn't attend, rather than admitting the truth. That's when I decided I wasn't going to let this slide. I wasn't going to pretend everything was fine or take the high road. Lauren wanted to exclude me to avoid uncomfortable conversations? Fine. But I wasn't going to help her maintain the lie. I spent the week before the party crafting my response. I wanted it to be perfect, to convey exactly how hurt and angry I was without being cruel or petty. I rewrote it a dozen times, showing drafts to Amanda for feedback. Finally, I had something I was satisfied with. During that week, I also did something I should have done years ago. I started really examining my relationship with Lauren. I pulled out old journals from high school and college, reading through entries about our interactions. A pattern emerged that I'd been blind to for years. There was the time in high school when I'd won a regional art competition, and Lauren had complained that Mom spent too much time talking about it at dinner because she had a soccer tournament to discuss. There was the instance in college when I'd come home for Thanksgiving with my first serious girlfriend, and Lauren had asked me not to make it obvious in front of her friends who were visiting. There was my graduation party where Lauren spent the entire time talking about her new promotion, barely acknowledging my achievement. I'd always made excuses for her. She was stressed. She was competitive. She didn't mean it that way. But reading through years of these moments, I realized I'd been lying to myself. Lauren had always centered herself, and I'd always let her. The worst part was discovering a journal entry from when I'd first come out to the family. I'd written about how Lauren's response had seemed supportive on the surface, but how she'd pulled me aside later and asked if I was sure and if I'd considered how this would affect the family. Even 5 years ago, she'd been more concerned about appearances than about supporting me. I showed some of these entries to Amanda, and she just held my hand and said, "You deserved better then, and you deserve better now." It was such a simple statement, but it cracked something open in me. I cried for hours that night, mourning not just this recent betrayal, but years of subtle marginalization I'd convinced myself didn't matter. By Wednesday of that week, I'd also started hearing things through the family grapevine that made everything worse. My cousin Rachel, who was friends with one of Marcus's co-workers, told me she'd heard that Marcus had been bragging at work about how drama-free his engagement party was going to be because they'd streamlined the guest list. Streamlined? Like I was excess baggage to be discarded for efficiency. Then my Aunt Patricia accidentally let slip that Lauren had apparently told some people I was going through a phase and that's why I wasn't attending. A phase. As if my entire identity, my relationship with Amanda, my whole authentic self was something temporary that Lauren could dismiss. I also learned that Lauren had deliberately scheduled the engagement party on a date when she knew I'd mentioned wanting to attend an art exhibition opening. I told her about it weeks before she'd even gotten engaged. A local gallery was featuring LGBTQ+ artists, and I'd been excited to support the community. She'd remembered that detail and used it as her cover story for why I couldn't make it to the party. The calculated nature of it all was breathtaking. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision or a thoughtless oversight. Lauren had planned this exclusion meticulously, built lies around it, and enlisted our mother as an accomplice. Thursday evening, I got a call from my grandmother. At 83, Grandma Betty wasn't as sharp as she used to be, but she had moments of perfect clarity. This was one of them. "Sarah, honey," she said, "something doesn't feel right about this party. Your mother keeps changing the subject when I ask about you, and Lauren gets all flustered. What's really going on?" I couldn't lie to her. I told her everything: the exclusion, the reasons, the cover-up. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. "That child," she finally said, and I knew she meant Lauren. "That child has always been so concerned with what people think. I'd hoped she'd outgrow it, but it seems she's gotten worse." Then Grandma Betty told me something I'd never known. Apparently, when my parents first told the extended family I was gay, Lauren had called Grandma Betty and asked her to help talk some sense into me. Lauren had been worried about how it would reflect on the family, particularly on her, since she was dating Marcus at the time and didn't want his family to get the wrong idea. "I told her she was being ridiculous," Grandma Betty said. "I told her that love is love, and anyone who had a problem with it wasn't worth worrying about. I thought she'd learned that lesson. Apparently, I was wrong." Grandma Betty said she was going to have a talk with Lauren, but I asked her not to. I didn't want Lauren to change her behavior because she'd been scolded by our grandmother. I wanted her to have to sit with the consequences of her own choices. Friday was the hardest day. I woke up with this crushing weight on my chest, the reality of it all hitting me fresh. In 24 hours, my entire extended family would be celebrating my sister's engagement, and I wouldn't be there. Not because I was busy, not because of distance or conflict, but because my sister had decided I wasn't worth the potential discomfort of defending. Amanda had taken the day off work to be with me. We spent the morning in bed, not talking much, just being present with each other. Around noon, she suggested we do something to reclaim the day, to make it about us instead of about what I was being excluded from. We drove to the coast, about an hour away, and walked along the beach. It was a cold, gray day, the kind where the wind whips your hair around and makes your eyes water. But it felt cleansing somehow, like the wind was blowing away all the pretense and fakery, leaving only what was real. "Do you think you'll regret this?" Amanda asked as we sat on a piece of driftwood, watching the waves. "Not going, posting what you're planning to post?" I thought about it carefully. I might regret how I do it. Maybe someday I'll wish I'd handled it differently. But I won't regret standing up for myself. I can't regret that. She nodded, squeezing my hand. "Good. Because you're not doing anything wrong. You're just refusing to be complicit in your own erasure." That phrase stuck with me. Complicit in my own erasure. That's what Lauren had wanted, for me to quietly go along with being erased from this celebration, to help maintain the fiction that it was my choice, my conflict, my absence that was the problem. We stayed at the beach until sunset, barely talking, just existing together. On the drive home, Amanda said something that made me laugh for the first time in days. "You know what's funny? Marcus's family is probably going to end up being more supportive than your own. Wouldn't that be something?" The irony wasn't lost on me. I was being excluded to appease people who might not have even needed appeasing. And even if they did have a problem with me, since when was accommodating bigotry more important than family? That evening, I finalized my post. I read it out loud to Amanda 3 times, making tiny adjustments to the wording. It needed to be clear, factual, and honest without being vindictive. I wasn't trying to destroy Lauren, I was trying to tell the truth. "Are you sure about this?" Amanda asked, not because she thought I shouldn't do it, but because she wanted me to be certain. "I've never been more sure of anything," I replied. And I meant it. The day of the engagement party, I went about my business as usual. Amanda and I went to brunch, spent the afternoon at a local art gallery, came home and cooked dinner together. It was a nice day, actually. Around 6:15 p.m., when I knew the party was in full swing, I posted my message. I didn't post it on my personal Facebook page where it might get lost. No, I posted it directly on the event page for the engagement party that Lauren had created. The event page that I could see despite not being invited, the one where guests were posting photos and well wishes. I made sure it was public so everyone could see it. The post read, "Hi everyone. I hope you're all having a wonderful time celebrating Lauren and Marcus's engagement. I wanted to take a moment to share why I'm not there tonight, since there seems to be some confusion. I wasn't invited. My sister chose not to invite me to this celebration because Marcus's family is uncomfortable with my sexuality. Rather than stand up for me or have a difficult conversation with her future in-laws, Lauren decided it was easier to exclude me entirely. Our mother supported this decision, believing it was better to keep the peace. I've spent the last week watching family members post about this event, seeing photos of cousins and aunts and uncles I grew up with, all gathered to celebrate my sister's happiness. An event that I wasn't deemed worthy to attend because of who I love. Lauren, I hope you have a beautiful engagement party. I hope Marcus's parents are pleased with the event and that you successfully avoided any uncomfortable situations. I hope it was worth it. To everyone else, I hope you enjoy the evening. Congratulations on being acceptable enough to include. Sarah. I posted it and immediately turned off my phone. Amanda and I settled in to watch a movie, though I'll admit I couldn't really focus on it. My mind kept wandering to what was happening at that party, imagining the chaos my post was causing. When I finally turned my phone back on 3 hours later, I had 247 notifications. The post had exploded. Comments ranged from supportive family members expressing shock and disappointment, to friends condemning Lauren's actions, to a few distant relatives trying to defend her decision. Several people had shared the post, and it had spread beyond just the engagement party attendees. There were also dozens of missed calls and texts. Lauren had called 16 times. The messages started out angry. "How could you do this? You're ruining my engagement party. This is so selfish." But progressed to desperate pleas for me to take the post down. Mom called it unnecessary drama and said I was attention-seeking. She sent a long text about how I'd embarrassed the family and owed Lauren an apology. Dad finally reached out, but only to tell me that I'd crossed a line and should have handled this privately. I didn't respond to any of them that night. Amanda and I finished our movie, opened a bottle of wine, and talked about everything. She held me when I finally broke down and cried, not from regret, but from the weight of it all, the rejection, the betrayal, the knowledge that my family had chosen comfort over standing by me. The fallout was extensive. My Aunt Patricia called the next morning, apologizing for not realizing I'd been deliberately excluded. She told me that my post had sparked a huge argument at the party, with many guests expressing their disgust at Lauren's decision. Apparently, Marcus's parents were mortified, not because I was gay, but because they claimed they never asked for me to be excluded. According to Patricia, Marcus's mother was in tears, saying she would never have wanted someone excluded from a family event over something like that. This revelation made everything worse somehow. It meant that Lauren had made assumptions about Marcus's family, or possibly that Marcus had misrepresented his parents' views. Either way, I'd been excluded based on presumed bigotry that might not have even existed. My cousin Jennifer, who'd been at the party, sent me a detailed account of what happened. She said that within minutes of my post going live, guests were checking their phones and whispering. By the time dessert was served, the party atmosphere had completely deflated. Lauren spent the last hour of the event in the bathroom, crying. Marcus was apparently furious, arguing with his parents about miscommunication and misunderstanding. Jennifer also told me about specific moments that I'll never forget. Apparently, Marcus's father, Pastor David, had been one of the first to see my post. He'd stood up in the middle of the party and asked to speak to Lauren and Marcus privately. Several guests overheard him saying, "We would never ask you to exclude family. Never. Where did you get the idea that we would?" According to Jennifer, Lauren had tried to explain that she just assumed based on things Marcus had said, but Pastor David was having none of it. He'd said something like, "Our faith teaches us to love one another. Disagreement is not the same as rejection. We don't exclude people from our lives because they're different from us." The irony was staggering. The people Lauren had been trying to protect from discomfort were apparently more evolved than she was. Marcus, caught between his parents' disappointment and his fiancée's tears, had apparently tried to take responsibility, saying he'd given Lauren the wrong impression about his family's views. But that just made it worse. It meant they'd built this entire exclusion on either a lie or a misunderstanding. Jennifer said that Marcus's mother, Diane, had been visibly upset. She'd apparently sought out Jennifer specifically because she knew we were close and wanted to make sure I knew that she'd never wanted me excluded. "Please tell Sarah," she'd said, "that she would have been welcomed with open arms. We don't judge love. We celebrate it." Several of Lauren's friends had also confronted her, according to Jennifer. Her college roommate Maya had apparently said, "I can't believe you did this. Sarah has always been nothing but supportive of you." Another friend, someone I didn't know well, had left the party early in protest, posting on her own social media about the importance of standing up to discrimination even when it's uncomfortable. The engagement party ended early, with guests leaving in uncomfortable clusters, many stopping to talk in hushed voices in the parking lot. What should have been a joyful celebration had become a disaster, and I can't say I felt bad about it. In the days that followed, more family members reached out. My grandmother was devastated, saying she never would have attended if she'd known the real reason for my absence. Several cousins expressed their support, with two of them even posting their own statements condemning discrimination in any form. Lauren tried multiple times to talk to me, but I wasn't ready. When I finally answered her call a week later, she immediately launched into an explanation about how everything was a misunderstanding, how Marcus's parents never said anything about me being gay, how she'd just been trying to avoid potential conflict. "So you excluded me based on an assumption?" I asked. "You didn't even bother to check with Marcus's family first? You just decided I wasn't worth the risk of possibly making someone uncomfortable?" She tried to backtrack, saying she was stressed about wedding planning and made a mistake. But here's the thing about mistakes, they're usually one-off errors in judgment. This wasn't a mistake. This was a series of deliberate choices. She chose not to invite me. She chose to lie to other family members about why I wasn't there. She chose to involve Mom in the deception. She chose, over and over again, to prioritize her comfort and her image over her relationship with me. "I want you at the wedding," she said, her voice pleading. "Sarah, please. I know I screwed up, but I want you there for the actual wedding. You're my sister." I laughed, and it sounded bitter even to my own ears. "I'm your sister when it's convenient, Lauren. I'm your sister when it doesn't require you to have difficult conversations or stand up to people. But the moment it gets complicated, I'm disposable." "That's not fair," she protested. "What's not fair is being excluded from my own sister's engagement party. What's not fair is finding out about it by accident. What's not fair is discovering that my own mother thought this was acceptable." The conversation ended without resolution. Lauren wanted forgiveness without truly understanding what she'd done wrong. She wanted me to move past it because it was uncomfortable for her to sit in the consequences of her actions. Mom has been trying to push for reconciliation, but her efforts feel hollow. She keeps saying things like family is forever and sisters shouldn't fight, but never once has she acknowledged her role in this or apologized for supporting Lauren's decision. She wants peace without accountability, and I'm not willing to give her that. The wedding is in 4 months. I haven't decided if I'm going. Lauren keeps saying I'm invited, but the invitation came through text message, not a formal invitation like everyone else received. It feels conditional, like she's keeping her options open in case Marcus's family really does have a problem with me. Amanda thinks I shouldn't go, that I should let Lauren get married without me there as a reminder of what she did. Some of my friends agree. Others think I should go, if only to prove that I'm the bigger person. But I don't want to be the bigger person anymore. I'm tired of being expected to absorb hurt and discrimination quietly to keep everyone else comfortable. What gets me the most is that this wasn't some distant relative or family friend who made this decision. This was my sister. The person who I'd shared a bedroom with growing up, who knew my first crush, who I confided in when I was scared to come out. She knew how hard it was for me to be open about my sexuality, how much courage it took, and she still chose to exclude me. I keep replaying moments from our childhood, looking for signs that this was always there, this willingness to choose herself over me. Maybe it was always there, and I just didn't want to see it. Or maybe she changed, became someone who values appearances and keeping up pretenses more than genuine relationships. The saddest part is that I miss her. I miss the sister I thought I had, even if that person never really existed. I miss the idea of having a sister who would stand by me no matter what. But that's not who Lauren is, and I have to accept that. My post is still up. I've been asked by several family members to delete it, to let it go and move forward. But I'm not taking it down. That post is the truth, a documented record of what happened. Lauren can't rewrite history or make excuses if there's a public record of her actions. Some people think what I did was petty, that I should have handled it privately. But here's the thing, I tried private. I tried talking to Lauren on the porch at Mom's birthday dinner. She dismissed my feelings and justified her actions. She was perfectly happy to lie to our extended family about why I wasn't there. She was content to let people think I was just too busy to attend my own sister's engagement party. My post forced everyone to see the truth. It forced them to confront the reality that this kind of exclusion was happening in our family. Was it dramatic? Absolutely. Was it necessary? I believe it was. I've learned a lot about my family through this experience. I've learned who will stand up for me and who will prioritize keeping the peace. I've learned that blood relation doesn't guarantee loyalty or love. I've learned that I need to build my own chosen family with people who celebrate me for who I am, not despite who I am. Amanda has been incredible through all of this. She's been my rock, listening to me vent, holding me when I cry, and reminding me that I deserve better. Her family has essentially adopted me, inviting me to dinners and holidays, treating me like I've always been part of their family. It's shown me what real acceptance looks like. I've also connected more deeply with the family members who reached out in support. My cousin Jennifer and I have been getting coffee weekly, and she's become one of my closest confidants. My Aunt Patricia has been checking in regularly, making sure I'm okay. These relationships, strengthened through adversity, mean more to me than any forced family gathering ever could. As for Lauren's wedding, I've made my decision. I'm not going. I sent her a message last week explaining my choice. I told her that I couldn't stand beside her on her wedding day knowing that she'd been willing to exclude me so easily. I told her that until she truly understands why what she did was wrong, not just that it had bad consequences, but that it was fundamentally wrong, we can't have a real relationship. She responded with anger, accusing me of being vindictive and trying to ruin her wedding. She said I was being dramatic and holding a grudge. She said that Mom was right, that I was attention-seeking and selfish. Maybe I am dramatic. Maybe I am holding a grudge. But I refuse to pretend that everything is fine when it's not. I refuse to smile and play happy family for the sake of wedding photos when the relationship is broken underneath. Mom sent a scathing text after Lauren told her about my decision not to attend the wedding. She said I was tearing the family apart, that I was being cruel to Lauren during what should be the happiest time of her life. She said that if I didn't come to the wedding and apologize, she would have to reconsider our relationship. Her ultimatum didn't have the effect she intended. Instead of making me cave, it clarified everything. My mother was willing to end our relationship because I wouldn't apologize to my sister for being hurt by her discrimination. The absurdity of it would be funny if it wasn't so painful. I wrote back a simple response: if standing up for myself means losing you, then I guess that's a choice you're making. I love you, Mom, but I love myself too. And I won't apologize for expecting my family to treat me with basic dignity. She hasn't responded. It's been 2 weeks. Dad called yesterday, the first real conversation we've had since this all started. He wasn't calling to take sides or mediate. He just wanted to tell me that he was sorry. Sorry for not standing up for me sooner. Sorry for letting Mom and Lauren exclude me. Sorry for not being the father I deserved. It was the conversation I needed but never expected. We talked for over an hour. He admitted that he'd been uncomfortable with my sexuality at first, that his generation was raised with different values, but that he'd worked through it because he loved me. He said watching this unfold had made him realize that passive acceptance wasn't enough. He should have been actively supportive. He should have shut down any conversation about excluding me the moment it came up. I failed you, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I let my discomfort with conflict matter more than protecting my daughter. That's not the kind of man or father I want to be. We're planning to have dinner next week, just the two of us. It doesn't fix everything, and we have a lot to work through, but it's a start. It's proof that people can change if they're willing to do the work. I've started seeing a therapist to process all of this. She's helped me understand that my anger is valid, that I don't owe anyone forgiveness, and that choosing myself isn't selfish. She's also helped me see that this situation, as painful as it is, has given me clarity about who deserves space in my life. The wedding is in 3 months now. I've made peace with my decision not to attend. Instead, Amanda and I are planning a trip that weekend. We're going to drive up the coast, stay in a bed and breakfast, and celebrate our own relationship. We're choosing joy and love over obligation and pretense. I don't know what the future holds for my relationship with Lauren or my mother. Maybe someday we'll find our way back to each other. Maybe Lauren will do the work to understand why her actions were so hurtful. Maybe Mom will realize that unconditional love means standing by your children even when it's uncomfortable. Or maybe they won't. Maybe this is the permanent fracture that changes our family forever. I've accepted that possibility. I can't control their choices or their growth. I can only control my own. What I do know is that I don't regret my post. I don't regret missing the engagement party. I don't regret standing up for myself even when it made everyone uncomfortable. For too long, I've been the one expected to make myself smaller to fit into other people's comfort zones. I'm done with that. My message on that engagement party page wasn't just for Lauren or my family. It was for me. It was me declaring that I matter, that my dignity matters, that I won't be hidden away for anyone's convenience. It was me choosing myself. And honestly, that feels like the biggest act of revenge I could have taken, not against Lauren, but against every expectation that I should quietly accept discrimination. Every assumption that keeping the peace is more important than standing up for what's right. Every belief that being the bigger person means absorbing hurt without complaint. I sent a message, all right. And the message was simple: I deserve better, and I won't settle for less. Some people will think I'm wrong for how I handled this. They'll say I should have been more forgiving, more understanding, more willing to move past it. To those people, I'd say, you've probably never had your family choose someone else's comfort over your existence. You've probably never been excluded from a celebration because of who you fundamentally are. You've probably never had to smile through microaggressions and conditional love while everyone else tells you to be grateful for the scraps of acceptance you receive. I'm not grateful anymore. I'm not accepting scraps. I'm not pretending that being excluded is okay as long as it's wrapped in pretty words about keeping the peace or avoiding drama. Lauren wanted to avoid drama by excluding me. Instead, I brought the drama directly to her engagement party. She wanted to keep her future in-laws comfortable. Instead, they got to see exactly what kind of person she'd been willing to become to please them. She wanted a perfect celebration. Instead, she got a party that ended early with guests gossiping in the parking lot. Is that revenge? Maybe. But it's also consequences. It's also the truth finally being spoken out loud instead of whispered behind closed doors. It's also me refusing to carry the shame that Lauren wanted me to bear silently. The other day, I was looking through old photos on my computer. There's one from Lauren's high school graduation where we're standing together, arms around each other, both smiling at the camera. I look at that photo now and wonder what happened to those girls. When did Lauren decide that her image mattered more than her sister? When did I become disposable? Or maybe I always was, and I just didn't want to see it. Maybe this engagement party wasn't an aberration but a revelation. Maybe Lauren has always been someone who prioritizes her own comfort above everything else, and I was just too close to see it clearly. Either way, I'm seeing clearly now. I'm seeing who shows up for me and who doesn't. I'm seeing who loves me unconditionally and who loves me with asterisks and conditions. I'm seeing who deserves my energy and who doesn't. Amanda asked me the other night if I was happy with how everything turned out. I thought about it for a long time before answering. Am I happy that my relationship with my sister is fractured, maybe beyond repair? No. Am I happy that my mother isn't speaking to me? No. Am I happy that I'll be missing my sister's wedding? No. But am I happy that I stood up for myself? Yes. Am I happy that I didn't let this slide? Yes. Am I happy that I showed everyone, including myself, that I won't accept being treated as less than? Absolutely yes. So yes, I'm happy. Not with the situation, but with how I handled it. I'm proud of myself for not backing down, for not apologizing for existing, for not making myself smaller to fit into someone else's narrow worldview. This whole experience has taught me that sometimes the most important message you can send is the one that says, I matter. My post on that engagement party page? That was me telling the world, and more importantly, telling myself, that I matter. That my presence matters. That my dignity matters. That I won't be erased for anyone's convenience. Lauren kept me in the dark about her engagement party because she was ashamed, not of Marcus's family, but of me. She wanted a celebration without the complication of her gay sister. She got a celebration that was defined by the absence she'd created. I made sure to miss her big day and send a message instead. And that message echoed louder than any attendance could have. It said everything that needed to be said about exclusion, about discrimination, about conditional love, and about what happens when you underestimate someone you've wronged. The story isn't over. There will be the wedding day when I'm somewhere else, celebrating love instead of obligation. There will be years of holidays and family gatherings to navigate. There will be moments when I miss my sister, miss my mother, miss what we used to be, or what I thought we were. But there will also be freedom. Freedom from pretending. Freedom from making myself palatable to people who should love me unconditionally. Freedom from carrying shame that was never mine to bear. That's my message. That's my revenge. That's my payback. I chose myself, and I'll keep choosing myself every single day. And honestly, that's the happiest ending I could have written.